Welcome to Women in B2B Marketing, a show where CMOs, VPs of marketing, and all strong women leaders in B2B discuss their top tactics, strategies, and tips for building high-performing teams, leveraging trends, and ultimately rocking their marketing careers. Made by and for women, insightful for all. I'm your host and 15-year B2B marketer, Jane Serra. Let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Women in B2B Marketing. As always, I'm super pumped for our guest today. I have followed her many years now on LinkedIn since her days at Superside. Let's see if any of you can guess who she is now. But Amrita Mather, who is the founder of Marketing Moonside. So she's consulting now, which everyone, that is huge. If you're looking for marketing help, that is big news. She's ex-Zapier, ClickUp, Superside, Top Hat. I'm sure you've all seen her on your feed. So welcome to the show, Amrita.
Thanks for doing this. I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad we finally connected properly.
Yeah, me too. Always good to put a real face on the screen and know each other.
Exactly. Agreed.
One big thing that Amrita has accomplished, and we'll get into a little bit of this, but you grew Superside from 2 million to 45 million. That's one of your claims to fame. Also, how can you walk us through your story of how you got into B2B marketing? Is this something you always wanted to do? You have a great career path and all these brands you've worked for and helped implement everything for the growth side. So would love to hear how you got there.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, I'm a big believer in serendipity. And I think unlike some of my area or New York colleagues, who are very discerning and take the right opportunities. And I have friends who also consider all of the economics of joining a company. I've just historically been very bohemian. And sometimes I think that's actually hurt me in the long run. But then I'm also I prioritize having fun and the vibe with the founder really matters a lot to me. So yeah, I've just gone from company to company that just made sense at the time, whether it's from a vibe check perspective or just, hey, I love this industry and what they're trying to do perspective. So no real strategy there. I will also say that I think a lot of people know this now, but I think maybe 10 years ago, it wasn't so prevalent, but I never really thought about quote unquote, climbing the ladder. Again, I just always felt like I was this accidental marketing leader, if you want to call it that. I just kept falling into stuff. I never went out and sought out and said, I want to build a team and I want to have 80 people, or they never really thought about it like that. It was just let's do cool shit. Let's build stuff. Let's work for cool companies that are trying to change that industry or that world. And yeah, let's just have fun in the process. So yeah. No strategy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Because two things I want to dive into from there. You mentioned the vibe with the founder matters a lot. First of all, I mean, vibe, I use that word a million times a day because I also follow vibes and what feels right, your intuition, which has steered me out pretty well so far. The things that didn't work out, we learn from, right? And you don't do that again. Either looking or when someone approaches you with a new opportunity. What do you look for? How do you check for that vibe, either of the person you'll work with, your CEO, your boss, and or the team and the company overall? What do you look for to evaluate that?
Yeah. And again, I think that list, if you will, has changed over time. I think as I've gotten older, some things are just non-negotiables. Whereas when I was younger, I think I was more loosey-goosey with it. So I'd say generally, there's a little rough around the edges, but generally I always try to see, hey, is this person, I don't need to be friends with them. I don't need to actually like them even. Do I feel like this person will, through osmosis or through explicit conscious help, level me up? Will they actually level me up? One example is one of the hardest industries I've worked in is education tech. And I used to work for this company, a Canadian Toronto darling actually called Top Hat. And it was a hard place to work. Anytime I meet somebody from Toronto, they know Top Hat because our reputation spread far and wide because it was a hard place to work. It was but the beauty of Top Hat was it was a boot camp. And the running joke was if you could work at Top Hat and make it at Top Hat, you can work in any industry, which is extremely true. It was the best boot camp I could have ever asked for. And I knew that going in. So when days were really hard and when I just finished 12 hours at the office or whatever, and I'd be home and I'd be hungry and tired and actually more hangry, and tired and not having a great time with my husband or whatever, I'd remind myself that I chose this. I chose the boot camp because I wanted to learn. I wanted to level up. Yeah. In short, I always try to assess, will this person level me up, whether deliberately or accidentally? That was a key thing. And then just like the second thing is this person a generous person? That was also very key for me, which kind of dovetails with the first thing. Generous with their time, generous with like if our company made it big, when maybe we went public, maybe we got acquired, whatever, would they spread the wealth? Would they share the love? Would they elevate others in the company? Would they make introductions? Like when I left Top Hat, the CEO introduced me to, I don't know, 20 people. Same with Superside, same with like all of these founders I've worked with. We're not friends. Superside's an exception. I'm friends with that founder, but they like pulled out the stops because they were like, okay, you added so much value here and I'm so thankful. Now it's time for you to move on or whatever. Cool. Now they spread the wealth in whatever way they can. So
very cool. Do you think that was serendipitous too? Like you just happened, or were there specific questions that their answers or things that they've said in interviews where you just saw that shine through?
It's very hard for that to come up in an interview, I feel, because oftentimes they're interviewing you a little bit more than you're interviewing them. Again, now that I'm further along in my career, I'm a bit more discerning. But I think when I was younger, less. But it comes through when you chat with the rest of the team and people around them, how they behave, what they care about, what are the kinds of like day-to-day. And sometimes you'll hear stuff that could be perceived as negative. I've heard all sorts of founders are like a special breed, right? Like they're taking so much risk and that brain is different. If everybody could do it, all of us would be founders. So they're a special breed and I understand that and I respect that. So I don't expect them to be like perfect in every way. I just try to like look at the positive side of whatever, even like something negative is surrounding them. Maybe they have a persona that is like a little bit off-putting. I try to see why that is, what that is. Can I benefit from that in any way? And if the answer is yes, like you take a little bit of a chance. Like it's not going to be perfect. And you just see if you can ride it together.
I know I totally agree that interviews end up being them like asking us. And we always have to remind ourselves that we're also interviewing them. And as we get older, I think we get better at that. Our confidence goes up. But I love that you made the point in the way you said it, that it's not just what impact can I have on this company, but what impact can these people and this company have on me and my career? I think it's a great way to put it and reframe.
Yeah.
I wonder, that's even a great question to ask. Like, how do you think this company can impact my career?
It'd be hard. It would be hard for people to answer that, to be honest. I think if I put somebody on the spot, I don't know that they'd be able to give that answer, but you can triangulate it by talking to people around them. Yeah. And just like the ecosystem, like if you just zoom out, you just want to see what is the larger ecosystem that they're a part of. And often you can tell if you just do some sleuthing on Twitter or whatever, wherever these founders lurk, you can just see like what their network is, like who they hang out with, who they talk to. And you can get like a vibe from that.
That's so true. If they're active on LinkedIn or something, you can see their comments. And we can do that PI work the same way they look into us and our social.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Do you take these questions and this mindset into evaluating which clients you take on as well, now that you're in the consulting space?
Oh gosh, wow, that's such a good question. I've only been at it for 2 months, so I don't know anything yet. We'll see. I will say it's so funny. Sometimes you just get a vibe even before you take a call. Like I've had in the last couple of months, like some VCs have introduced me to founders. Sometimes they'll say, hey, I'm not going to introduce you yet, but take a look at whatever this deck or whatever, right? Like we're investors in them. You can take a look at this deck. And you just look at the deck and you just get a vibe right away. And sometimes I'll just be like, no, I don't think this is my thing. So it sounds a little bit like hocus pocus, but I'm at a point in my career where I don't feel like I need to work for money. I want to work with people I like and respect and spaces that I like and respect. And I'm not wouldn't consider myself quote unquote woke. I know it's a controversial topic, but that's not me. Like I'm here to work hard. I'm here to make money. I know businesses are about money. I'm not here to play like the DEI game or any of that. But there is something to be said about just like how you communicate and like-mindedness and just like the kind of company that people want to build and whether I want to be part of that. You just get a sense of that like right up front.
Yeah. Speaking of, I'm going down on my questions list. I'm skipping ahead because there is a post of yours that you posted a while back. There's a couple I'd love to talk about because you have some great gems. But one, You posed the question, and I love this. It got me thinking. If you're a new VP of marketing at a startup or a CMO, and you can only pick 3 of these, which would they be? A healthy budget, solid top performing team, a big market, low CAC, work less than 12 hours a day. I'd love to go over because you mentioned not being woke and you want to work your ass off. What did you learn from that? And what did you see? And how do you feel about it?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not like the arbitrator of what's good and what's not. Each to their own, everybody has a different philosophy. So who am I to judge or comment on what people's choices are? My observation was that a lot of marketers, I actually should do a proper data cut by who, male versus female, startup versus large company. Probably tenure, I think, is a huge factor, how experienced you are. I've been around the world a few times, been at this rodeo a few times. Yeah, so I should do the proper infographic or something. But without looking into all of those details, it was interesting to me. And I found a little funny that so many people commented and said healthy budget was a part of the equation. Of the top 3 things, you can pick 3 out of 5, which is already quite a bit. And a lot of people picked healthy budget, which I thought was very interesting because you can have a healthy budget, but have a small market or a shitty team or a whole bunch of other stuff and still not make it. So I always found that funny. I personally found interesting that also a lot of people picked work less than 12 hours a day. Now, listen, I know 12 hours a day is insane. You can't keep it up for ever and ever. I have been there myself and I've been a victim of burnout many times. So not advocating to work that consistently, but I think my personal philosophy is if you're new at something, you need a little bit of almost a jump start in the first few months to learn the ropes, figure out what the heck is going on under the hood, build some machines or some frameworks at the very least. And that likely cannot be done in a short amount of time. Likely the initial effort is quite heavy and you should just gear up for that. So I also found that part funny, that a lot of people's commentary was something like, you're not efficient if you're working 12 hours a day. And I was like, yeah, but also not forever. You want to work 12 hours a day or whatever in the early days and then ease off after that, because hopefully that's not needed if you've done your job well. So yeah, I think some people were very sassy with me. It's 12 hours a day. And LinkedIn is tame. When I post this on Twitter, it had gone super viral and I got some crazy comments. So this is the tame version.
So interesting. Yeah. I have not been on Twitter since Trump's first presidency. I think I was like, nope, not for me anymore. It was too crazy. So I haven't seen, wow, that's fun. I have to look that up later and see what people shared. I was definitely one of the people that was hell no to the 12-hour days. But that's because I would put an asterisk, right? All of these have a little asterisk because there's guaranteed 12-hour days if you're in marketing. It's going to happen no matter what level you're at, what position, as long as it's not every day, 12-hour day, because that I just know, unless it's my company.
That's why I said new VP of marketing and a marketing or whatever, right? Early, it's your first whatever. Maybe I could have phrased the question better, but I didn't want to guardrail it too much in the event that people overthink
keep it open.
Yeah.
True. And I think the budgeting, my hypothesis here would be that all of us we're suffering from PTSD from the do more with less. That we're just budget, that's what we need now more than ever.
Yeah, though that definitely budgets have been slashed and I know it's top of mind. But for me, it was big market. If I could pick, big market would be great. Listen, there's riches in the niches, as they say, as well, for sure. So there's absolutely amazing businesses that can be built in narrow verticals or sectors. But if given a choice, big market is preferable because you can pivot a lot more. You can jump around. You have a lot of channels available, so on and so forth. Top performing team, actually, I've gone back and forth on because I think it's easier. I should say it's more easy than ever to build that top performing team because almost everybody with the right attitude can be quote unquote trained on the job. And with an amazing modern tooling, so much of it can be done pretty fast and you can learn pretty quickly. I think that's a no-brainer for me personally. How could you not pick a top performing team or at least want to build one or get your team there? That's key. Yeah. And then the beauty of low CAC or low CPL, if it's already the case out of the box, is it's a very good indicator that you have found product market fit that you have some kind of efficiency already built in, that the market is actually pulling your product in, there's demand, right? Like it's like a preamble to so many other things, so many other market dynamics. So hands down, if I had an order of operations of which one to go for first, that would be at the top of my list. Like yield CAC is like at the top of my list because it just proves that there's something here and it takes many forms. And I've definitely worked at companies where we didn't have the best product or the most efficient go-to-market or whatever, but the CAC was just so good that we just made it work because you were just printing money. Like literally it was like, we would pay it back in a month. We would just throw $1 at it. We would pay it back in a month.
Yeah. So, wow. Scale. I think you just touched on another question to ask in interviews too, right? Or if you're looking for another job, is what is your CAC? Because I'm sure many people already asked this, but just to understand that product market fit that already exists and they're not struggling to try to figure that out still. That's not fun. At least in my opinion, that's not a fun phase to enter for marketing.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't ask that question to early stage companies because they have no CAC or payback or because they haven't really fully gone to market. And what's that? Or they haven't really gone to market. So like they don't know what they're going to burn. Like they have no idea. True. So it's not always a valid question, but if you can ask it, if you're like Series A company or larger, then for sure that's a great question to ask to just understand what's the overall like dynamic.
Yeah. Working for all of these top companies and seeing how things have changed over the last, every single year, every 6 months, it changes so much for us. But now that you're working with consulting and working with various companies, what do you see working now for growth for B2B? What tactics are working?
Yeah. Nothing. Again, I'm just like at it like very newly. So I don't know that much has changed. There does seem to be, in the conversations I've had, I haven't worked with all these people, but I've had like about 8 or 9 conversations with like Series A and B companies typically. And the thing that I've noticed is like almost all the CEOs and founders and co-founders totally, it's just like such a funny phenomenon. They get that like the message and the story is like really important, which wasn't the case like literally even a couple years ago. And I wouldn't even say I don't tend to I'm definitely more on the building the revenue machine side of marketing. And I wouldn't call myself like a brand or brand strategist or brand marketer or anything like that. But it can't be done without having that figured out. And I think most of these guys, most of these founders and co-founders know that's important. They get it. I don't have to over-explain it. That's been an interesting shift.
Yeah.
I think that everybody also knows that with AI, a lot of stuff has been commoditized. I just saw on LinkedIn, this product manager at Stripe, I believe, Michael Luo, he just rebuilt DocuSign, which is like, a $2-3 billion company. He rebuilt DocuSign in 2 days with Cursor, Lovable, and ChatGPT. Like he's built a $2 billion company with 3 AI products and he did it in 2 days. And it's pretty good. AI is pretty good. So, I think people know that it's no longer the act of building a great product alone. Like you need a moat that's beyond just the product. Like you need good pricing, good story, champion a community that champions you, like solid customers or whatever. Like you need all of those things, the soft things, which marketers have always been good at. I think a lot of founders now understand that. So the willingness to invest in those things is greater. Those conversations are definitely easier. And I'm not having to explain why you need marketing. Like they get it.
That's awesome. Do you see, or have you heard in any conversations, more budget going to marketing versus product team?
Ooh, like by product, do you mean like engineering as well?
Yeah. Any kind of like dev, engineering, any product side?
Not yet, but I think that's a function of working for a smaller or like talking to smaller companies. I think when you get into a certain size and certain scale, like obviously the investments in engineering won't be as great as they would be in go to market. Like even if you think about Zapier, ClickUp, like they're pretty large companies, like $200-300 million companies. They're not spending exponentially on development as they are on the larger GTM machine. And that includes marketing, sales, PLG, sales engineering, customer support and success, like all of that whole GTM machine. These companies are spending a lot more on that. Some of those things are automatable, but a lot of it's not.
Yeah. Do you think, I completely agree with what you're saying on like the brand side and building the moat, the soft side of things. There's I was thinking about this today and it clicked for me. It's nothing groundbreaking, but what gets my attention right now? Because I'm still in that do more with less phase, unfortunately. And I'm just constantly strapped. So, who gets my attention? It's really two things. Who breaks through the noise? One, are you taking something off my plate? Are you making life easier for me? Or are you making me laugh or smile? Because that's all I have time for. If you can make my life easier or make me smile, because I need that in the crazy days that we're all having right now. It's like the human side of things. That's where you can do those things, creating those relationships and showcasing how you can do that, not just product demos left and right.
Yeah. How do you feel, like, just to drill in, I'm asking you a question back on your podcast, but how do you making life easier? Do you ever consider, oh, there's this new whatever tool or tool stack or whatever that I need to like learn? It will make my life easier, but it's going to require an upfront investment and a learning curve, really, like of time and learning. Do you actively think about that? Like, how do you evaluate that?
I think about time versus ROI, I guess, on that. Like, we are just bringing on a tool, Tofu, if you've heard of it. So it helps your team do the work of many more. I want to say it's tofuhq.com.
Nice.
I'm so excited for it because it's going to help my team of two get just a ton done and repurpose content and connect with our sales team and get some sequences ready so we're all speaking the same language. Nice. So it's going to be huge for us to get us to do a lot more, just be more efficient. But it's going to take time to ramp up and to train it. It's AI, so we have to train it to our voice and upload all the files. But it's the time that it'll take to do that is just going to be so worth it. It'll be like having another one or two people on the team. So we'd have to ramp them up anyway if we had more people. So now it's just ramping up the tool.
Got it. Okay. So you made that conscious like evaluation that it's going to be a little bit of trouble in the beginning, but it's going to be great over the long term.
Worth it.
Worth it.
But if there's even, and this kind of is like basic marketing and even sales tactics, but if somebody gave me a little taste of something that helped me instantly, like that day, I'm yours.
Like a hook.
Like, yes, something that like, oh, I didn't think of that. That's going to save me like 5 hours. Genius. And now I'm like glued to you. So you have my attention in the feed all the time. And I'm going to think of your platform when it's time for me to buy.
Yeah. So, yeah, totally. Yeah. That actually makes so much sense. That's like one of the tactics I've seen work, just coming back to your original question.
Yeah.
Which is offer like value. It doesn't have to just be like media, like it doesn't have to be a webinar or whatever. Yes, that too. But if you can build like light tools, like little tools that allow people to go from point A to point B in a very simple, easy way in a couple of clicks, like very low overhead, low cognitive load. Like we don't have time to think even, most of us. So I always like to think, what can we provide that's like low cognitive load? And if you can just build those little things and that can serve those tools or those, it could even just be like a simple template or playbook or whatever. If you can build those and that serves as a stepping stone into your product or into the larger marketing machine, then great. That's awesome. That's actually something that it's crazy. So few companies actually execute on.
Yeah.
This has been around forever.
Yeah. Like we used to do it and then it faded. Maybe it's time we bring it back where, do you know how, like when I first started in marketing, everybody always asked like, where did you find us? And that was how you attribute it. Like it was that field. And now it's like it died and we started just looking at back end the cookies and everything and tracking people. And now it came back full circle and everyone does that. And what is it? Self-attribution, self-reported attribution. Now it has a fancy term. It's just a field and a form.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same with ROI calculators and like little instant feedback audits or packaged of XYZ. That was the jam 10, 15, 20 years ago. Maybe that'll come back now.
I hope so. Like just today, I was like poking around for, hey, what's like a good lightweight A/B testing tool just for like orphan landing pages and stuff. And there's not a single provider that I found that's, hey, type in your, like in the age of AI, like type in your URL. I'll tell you now, like what your heat map is. And do you even need to A/B test this based on your traffic volume and conversion, right?
Yeah.
Like that alone would be an amazing tool, but nobody seems to have built that. I'm like, I should build this.
Yes. Build it.
Yeah. But it's just so much value that you can add to the consumer just by offering these little things. And then, like you said, to use your term, like I would be indebted and glued to you because you just solved this for me in 2 minutes or less. And now I'm just like, yes, I want to work with.
And you're going to send it to all your friends complaining about that. You're like,
the viral loop on that alone.
Yes.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's like step one. We need to identify that. What is that hook that we can get? And not just hook the first sentence of your post. What can you actually get people hooked in to wanting to follow you and your company more?
Yeah.
On the flip side of this, so the human side is working and all these things that just offering value, coming back to that. What is not working and you're just sick of hearing, sick of people doing?
Yeah. Anything can work in like the right market conditions, obviously. I'm recently on this like a little bit of a rampage on just like classic SEO. Well, I shouldn't say rampage, but I guess like my perspective is I'm not saying don't invest in SEO. It's just that if you're still like a young company and you only have so much money and you only have so many chips on the betting board, so to speak, that's not where I would recommend we start, simply because one, it takes time to pay off if you do a good job. And there's so many factors in what a good job is. And if you do an excellent job, it might pay off. But more importantly, the way that just search is evolving, it's happening so fast. Nobody really understands it. And I think if you are going to invest in that, the strategy is like actually like a little bit of a new playbook that should be invented. My strong hunch is, based on the little testing that I've done on myself, is it almost needs to be a huge emphasis not on your own website content, but actually on off-site content, like off your site. You can think of, if you think of Perplexity is an AI search engine. And if you think of every AI tool as a search engine of a type, like when I do all sorts of queries on Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, it is still searching the internet, if you will, in some ways. I think that over time, there's going to be some kind of equation that bubbles to the surface that I can only explain as trying to gauge, or the AI is going to try, the LLMs are trying to gauge what is real affinity. If someone searched, hey, how do I send whatever HubSpot data into Send? How do I migrate SendGrid and HubSpot? Zapier would be like the first search query that would come up if you look for it on Google, because they've just like figured out those point-to-point connections and they have an amazing app directory, whatever. If you ask that to AI, high likelihood that Zapier would come up as well as an option, but it's also going to have other options. And I think it's going to try to figure out, hey, is this solution provided by Zapier, I'm just using them as an example since I work there, is this like the thing that people actually like? Is this the thing that is a robust solution? Is this a low-cost solution? It depends on the prompt and the query, right? So if I said to Claude, hey, find me a way to merge this data and pass data back and forth between these two, but make it low cost and make it like super low friction, and I want to begin up and running in 2 seconds, it'll star rank it based on those parameters. And that's what the quote unquote search work needs to be for, like giving the full context, not just these like listicles and whatever else have pervaded the internet, and like really making sure that a lot of your champions, your advocates, all of these folks are actually posting about your product and their experience on it publicly, whether that's on Reddit, whether that's other public forums, whether that's TikTok, what have you. So I think search is just going to change dramatically, where more credence and brand affinity or product affinity is going to be put on what other people say about you than what you say about yourself. It's literally like anything else, like a job interview. Like the person interviewing you, of course you're going to say good things about yourself, but what do other people say about you? There's a famous like Black Mirror episode of something similar where like everyone got like a social score. It's which was very scary, and I hope it never happens to us. Very creepy. But it's like that. The LLMs are going to try to assess how credible this product and the solution and this brand is. And it's not going to be based on what you say about yourself on your own website. I think the whole concept of a website is actually going to be archaic like very soon. What is a website? Just stuff that you say about yourself. Like, who cares?
Yeah, it is interesting. Like when I am evaluating a tool or thinking about a tool, it's all like word of mouth. And then I talk to somebody about it, like at the company. And that's when I decide to buy. So it's very little time spent on their website. I'm definitely not going to their content and looking at their blog posts or anything like that. I'm just looking at their product because I figure it out beforehand. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I think that dynamic is going to shift a lot. So like to zoom back out to what's not working, I'm not saying SEO won't work if you already have that engine built, but I think going forward, and if you had to invest in like essentially what it really comes down to is content marketing for the LLMs and for the algorithms out there, I would disproportionately invest in offsite content than onsite content. That would be my personal search and LLM strategy. Don't know if it's going to pan out because even the experts can't tell you that. But that's like my strong hunch and what a lot of people would say is probably going to happen.
Yeah. I don't have data to back this up. This is just my own hypothesis or observation that Reddit seems to be blowing up lately and a lot of talk about it in the marketing circles. Do you think that's because more and more people are trying to get that word of mouth and discussion about their brands on Reddit for AI to then feed it into those searches?
I think it was blowing up before people caught on to that. Now people are definitely trying to hack it for sure. Yeah, like marketers, right? We're like, yes, here's the thing. We
ruin everything.
We ruin everything, seriously. Yeah, no, but I think it was already blowing up before people caught on to that. And their stock price alone is like a good indicator of that. And the thing is like Reddit is just like a reliable way to discern fact from fiction. I still read reviews before I go to a new salon or something. I still look at Google photos or Instagram photos from users before I book a hotel. Like I was just traveling in India and I was like about to book a very pricey hotel. And I'm like, before I spend this kind of money, like I need to see like user posted photos and reviews and what they say. So I just go on Instagram and poke around a bit before I drop that money. So I think that like authentic feedback loop and like your own assessment of what's going on under the hood is like very important to people. And we ruined the internet with just garbage content and fake stuff and fake reviews and fake testimonials and fake this and fake that. So everything's so perfectly, tightly orchestrated. And so the veneer of marketing is you can sniff it out. So the reason Reddit and these other places, some other forums do particularly well, and these closed door communities and Slack groups do very well, because people are trying to get under the hood. They want to know what the truth is. That's why you text a friend before you buy any solution, because you just don't trust what's been put out there.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it all comes back to having a good product too, and like actually solving something for someone. Because then, like you're saying, in the communities, if I'm any WhatsApp group I'm in with marketers, we always ask each other, have you used tofu before? Have you used this before? And we give each other feedback. And there's been many times we've had conversations like, no, don't go with them. It's not worth it. So having that, like that customer experience and seeing that ROI now.
Yeah. In my spare time, I just like love browsing Reddit threads and just like seeing like all the long discussions and stuff. Cause there's, I guess, like an interesting dynamic where sometimes people will like disagree but there's amazing meat in that disagreement as well. And I can observe like how people come to a certain consensus and stuff. It's just a little bit of psychology and just how humans talk to one another.
Yeah. And of course, it's way more raw when you don't have a face and you're not talking to the person directly. Do you have a favorite Reddit? What is it called? Channel or thread?
Yeah, just a thread, the TMI, but just the stuff that older women go through. Like there's no good safe places to talk about that stuff. So I'm in some of those. Oh, I love like menopause and stuff.
Yeah. A friend who is going to create a podcast about that, like all the things women were like taught not to talk about with other people and like in public, like the carrying a tampon and like having to hide it when you go to the bathroom. It's like things like that.
Exactly. It's just crazy. I've just learned so much on Reddit than any other. Maybe there's like good like private communities for this type of stuff, but it's definitely like everyone has like their own sort of unique set of situations and health profiles and whatnot. And it's hard to find somebody to compare notes with that might be in a similar stage of life, but has just something else going on with them. As an example, TMI also is I have high blood pressure and I sometimes don't sleep well. So I have like insomnia. It creates this like perfect like confluence of stuff. And not anybody else might have that exact same profile. And I can't get answers just from my healthcare professional. So what do I turn to? Reddit. And I've found women who have similar things happening there.
Oh, that's so interesting. I need to start like instead of Googling things like this happened to me. What does it mean? It's like Reddit. I have to look it up.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of work to get in there, but this is where like Claude or whatever can be like super helpful. Like you can just see like, hey, give me like sometimes I'll just ask it like give me like only look for Reddit threads and research papers and nothing else.
Yeah.
You know? And then it'll spit out a very different answer.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that. I need to get more into Reddit. The ads are interesting to test out too, but you have to be careful where it's showing up.
Oh, yeah. I've never even done that. That's true. Okay. Yeah. I never even thought about that. I guess there is
It gives
ads
you the
there.
option. I haven't done it in a year or two, Reddit ads. So I'm sure it's changed so much already, but there used to be an option to exclude anything that has XYZ. You can check boxes. So your ads didn't go in those areas, but because Reddit is like a full spectrum of the type of content, right? There's like really gross stuff. And then there's like really helpful stuff with like normal.
Yeah.
With the TMI theme, which I'm all about, there's no such thing as TMI for me. I feel like after you have, I don't know if you have kids, but I feel like after you have kids, there's no such thing as TMI. Like it just doesn't.
Totally. Yeah. No, yeah. Our house, like our back window backs on till there's a lot of like foliage and grass and whatever. And so sometimes I'm like, don't really put the shades down when I'm like changing or whatever. And Mazda's like, oh my God, put the shades down. I'm just like, 13 people were in the operating room when I gave birth. Like, I'm okay. No one wants to see this.
I have the same conversation with my husband. He's always like putting the shades down because we live in a high rise and he's always thinking people can look in.
Other people peeping in.
If they're going through all that effort, congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the TMI front, and you can go as deep as you want with this, but what has been like the most impactful thing that has happened to you in your career? Like moment, person, it could be anything. Just something like when I say that, what's the first vision that comes to your mind?
It's something happened to me recently, which I don't even know if it's like a thing. It's a very clear like feeling of love, but I'm not quite sure why, like what the circumstances were, where it occurred. So I'll just give a shout out to the Exit 5 community here, which is Dave DG's community. I don't know if you know him. I've never met him. Anyway, him and the team held their first event in September of last year, and they did it in Vermont, like small town, Burlington, Vermont, like very like tiny little place, like quaint, whatever. And it was just like 200-300 marketers, and we all showed up there. And I just happened to be in between the ClickUp and Zapier jobs. I had that month free, and I was just like, yeah, road trip, let's go. I took my husband, I took my baby, like we were all like, let's go. And it was just this like crazy amount of validation and just like love for what I was doing personally for myself and my career and my life and the choices that I was making. But also it was like a bit of a mesh. Like it wasn't like one-sided. Like everybody was there for everybody else. Like I met so many people, and I met like really great people that I actually know from the internet, but I thought about them one way, but when I actually met them in person, my mind was like changed. Like I was like, oh, this guy's not a bro. He's actually like a teddy bear, but whatever, like whatever my preconceived notions were.
Yeah. That would be an amazing post if you're like, people I thought were bros, but turned out to be great.
That is true. Yeah. But that would be a compliment and a diss.
I know, right?
That's a good idea. Yeah. I don't know I'm just like trying to capture like in words, like how I felt when I left there. It was like, I was there for 2 days, and I just left feeling very energized, very hopeful. Actually, I felt very hopeful about marketing and just like the state of the world and the state of technology. Because I think with AI and a whole bunch of other stuff, a lot of us are a little bit disillusioned. People are getting cut left, right, and center. Jobs are being lost left, right, and center. So I think that meeting of minds really happened there. And I just left feeling very hopeful and feeling a lot of love. And it was just like a great outpouring of just like a lot of good best practices, but also I got your back. So that felt like an impactful moment in my career, because again, if I think back to like how I even had the guts to go out on my own and consult and figure this out, is to do with that, because I saw other people do it. And I saw that if I put it out there, if I really put it out there, that there would be this like loose network of people to catch me if I fell. That was very empowering. That was like super empowering, because like I wasn't at Zapier very long, and it was like a really big decision for me. Part of me didn't even really want to take another job after ClickUp. Like I should have actually just gone out and consulted right away, but I didn't have the guts. But going to that conference,
I guess that.
Yeah, after it accepted the job, gave me the gut. Like it's just like everything was like a funny order of things, but it needed to happen that way. Like it just needed to work out that exact way. This goes back to my point about serendipity. Sometimes you just need to go with the flow and just whatever, things will just work out.
Yeah, follow what the world throws at you. I love that. And I had a similar feeling at an event called Spring by Winter.
Oh, the winter. Yeah. Peaks,
Yeah,
stuff,
so
yeah.
good. Yes, so good. But I saw so many great posts about Exit Five's event. I'm on the wait list. So I'm trying to
Nice.
go this year. We'll see. But
Nice.
I heard the same thing. That matters so much, like your community. I talk about it a lot on the show, but having the personal board of directors, like making sure you have people in your network that you get that from all the time, like that. I love that you brought it back to the word love. Like it really is. It's like having that support network and like feeling the love between everybody, because that's what gets us through everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like there's someone coined the term, I'm forgetting who it was. I want to say it was Malcolm Gladwell or somebody like that, who said that what works for humans is not like these, it's not necessarily just the deep connections. Like you don't need to be like besties with everybody all the time and text them all the time, but like these like micro interactions. And I think that's what that community gave me, is like these like little like micro, like these bursts of like interactions and these bursts of like little bits of love, which wasn't even directed at me necessarily. It was just directed at the larger like act of doing marketing for tech.
Yeah. Oh, so cool. This would be a great ad for Drive for 20. Like
you should just clip it and send it to DJ.
Like here, Dave.
Yeah, here you go.
So funny. Similar thread to wrap up our convo, but I could talk to you for days. If you could go back in time 15, 20 years ago, Amrita just getting into marketing, what would you say to her after all that you've been through and experienced and the things you know now?
I think about that a lot. Yeah, I think about that a lot. I think I would just tell her to be a bit more courageous, take like more chances, and just don't sweat the small stuff. Like I think I used to sweat the small stuff a lot. I was like a little bit righteous. I wanted things to be like good and perfect quite a bit. Now I value speed over like things being perfect. Yeah, which is like the perfection thing is like a little like a double-edged sword. You can take a long time to get something out the door. Just to not worry about that so much. And just cut other people a little bit of slack. Again, I think my level of judgment, even though I was a young person, was quite sky high. And I have no idea why. And since then, I revised my thinking. And I just cut people a lot of slack and myself a lot of slack. I just try not to take things so seriously anymore. Don't take myself so seriously anymore. And just try to prioritize like a little bit of fun. Like we all need to make money and we all need to work on things that give us satisfaction and stuff. But just like where possible, try to prioritize fun and the work itself.
Yeah. I love that. Enjoy what you're doing. Yes.
Yeah. Enjoy what you're doing and just optimize for the enjoyment part.
Yeah. I forget where I heard this from. It is not mine, but it's really been great for me lately, is reframing. I get to.
Love that.
When it clicks, it really it's some voodoo stuff, because it really helps me. Because I had to do a presentation to a couple hundred people and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. And I was like, I get to do this. This is going to be fun. And I like made it and it worked. It totally worked. I don't know what made it click. If I figure that out, I'll tell everyone. But
like it's a privilege. Like I have this privilege to stand up on stage and talk to these 200 people. I know what you mean. I get to do this. I've chose to do this. Yes, that is a good
and it makes you have fun and enjoy it. Yeah. So anytime I think, oh, I have to do this and this, like talking about a to-do list, I'm like, okay, but I get to do blah, 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 blah.
Nice.
It doesn't always work. Some things are tedious, but most of the time it does.
Nice.
But awesome.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you. That's a good post-it I'll put on my walls. So I remember when I'm feeling down.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today. I so appreciate it. And I hope to see you at Drive this year.
Yes.
I get it. Are you going to go again?
I think so.
Yay.
Yeah. I think they're doing it back in Vermont again. So I'd love to partake. Yeah. Let me see if the tickets are already on sale.
I don't know if I'm also horrible with email, which is another thing. I think it's just a wait list for now, unless they updated it and I just missed it, which is possible.
You are right. It's just a wait list and I just found it. So that's good. Cool.
Yay. I hope to see you there. And for now, if anyone wants to connect with you, is LinkedIn the best place to do so, or your website? Or
yeah, I don't even have a website because I'm so tapped out and figured I don't really need one. Yeah, no, LinkedIn's great. Just send me a DM, or my email is my full name. So Amrita Mather at me.com.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If you're like a startup or you're a founder that like needs some marketing or GTM or growth help, yeah, I'm taking on advisory. So that's what I have bandwidth for these days.
Yay. We'll spread the word. Thank you, Amrita. And everybody listening, connect with Amrita on LinkedIn, follow her. If you know anyone looking for consulting, definitely connect them and listen, refer a friend, rate us however you think we deserve, but share with a friend and spread the love for women in B2B marketing. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.